Good evening. Welcome to Health Quest. I'm Deborah Arneson, your host for tonight. We have a great show for you. We have Erin Walsh, who's back with us, who's going to talk to us about yoga, the importance of breath work, taking care of your body, stretching and flexing, which are absolutely mandatory in this day and age because everything we do is constricted and rounding and tightening and stressful, and we don't breathe because, hey, we're always under pressure and we've got to hold our breath. But Erin is here to actually begin with a beginning yoga class, and we're going to do the first level tonight. So it'll be a series of some very short treatments that we're hoping you, our audience, will be able to incorporate in your daily life at home. And I think the last time we did it was like 10 or 15 minutes of actually doing the positioning, which you're going to share with us tonight. So the important thing is just to get started when it comes to taking care of yourself. And I think Erin is just one of the most magnificent teachers I've ever encountered. I took her up to Wisconsin last year for a Panchakarma retreat, and she literally took women from every experience and ability level, which was from no ability and no experience to very experienced in all shapes and sizes, and made the most incredible classes twice a day for us at our retreat, and it was just phenomenal. So she's an excellent teacher, and it's really a pleasure having you again. Thanks for being here, honey.
Thank you for having me.
So, why do you think more and more people are becoming more and more interested in beginning with yoga?
I think that it's more of a consciousness globally. People are becoming more interested in taking more interest in their life, and I don't know, it just seems like people are, like you said, under so much stress that they're seeking something different, and they're seeking to heal themselves.
It's about time,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is.
It is so wonderful. And what do you feel, Erin, is the student's responsibility when they do yoga? Is it a responsibility to the world, to themselves, to you, to do what?
It's a responsibility to themselves to actually communicate with their yoga instructor, to let them know if they have any injuries or any conditions, so that the teacher can work with them to help enhance their own ability, as opposed to, creating more tension or creating, more stress. You want to help them, to
Well, and
with
that's
their
one
injuries.
of the things that impresses me about your classes is, at the beginning of every class, it's a mindful way of teaching. You ask everyone if they have specific concerns or health injuries or body part problems, and then it's amazing because in a class of 12 people, you'd be like, okay, well, Deborah, maybe you should do this position this way instead of that way, and don't go over as far. Make sure you bend your knees. It's like you're a very mindful instructor, which is important, but it's also important for people to know they need to speak up and say, excuse me, I've got this issue.
Right. Some people are afraid to speak up, or afraid to say they have an injury when, if I knew something about it, maybe I could direct them in a different way, or help them in some way.
Right, so they don't, of course, re-injure or hurt further. When beginning yoga, where should the main focus be, in your opinion?
The main focus is definitely on the breath.
Okay.
The breath is what helps connect the mind to the body. It keeps us in the present moment, and that's the whole focus of yoga.
That's
to stay
wonderful.
mindful, keep the attention.
Okay, why is attention important?
Attention is important because what happens if the mind wanders is that we're not with our practice anymore. So through the attention, you bring more consciousness into your practice. So the practice could be mindless, where you're just kind of going through the motions, or if you bring the mindfulness in, it becomes a completely different practice.
It does, totally. It's you get into a flow, actually, especially if you're doing the breath work.
Right. Yeah, it becomes like hypnotic.
Yeah, when I finish, your classes, I walk out of there floating, and I'm high for a good 24 hours. It's like a buzz. It really is amazing. I think just because you're oxygenating, you're breathing, you're stretching, the body is so happy to be opened up, and you're going to share some of these positions with us tonight. I miss it. When I get away from it, I'm just like, I just want it. It's like your body starts craving it. It's very interesting how it knows it needs it and must have it. Yeah. So, and when you don't get it, if I go away for 2 weeks or so, I get really snarly.
Yeah.
Like short with people and more whiny.
Right.
So it's an important aspect of living and breathing. I know you know about the Vedic scriptures, and in the Vedas it said, that it teaches that yoga is just one arm of living responsibly for only not yourself, but the planet on this earth.
Yeah.
So it's very important to do it. How does this differ? How does attention differ between beginners and more advanced practitioners?
With beginners, they're learning something new, so they have a lot of focus, a lot of attention, and they're thinking of all these different things, so they're very mindful about it. Sometimes, if once you become a more seasoned practitioner, there is a tendency to get mechanical about it, and so you have to have that beginner's mind.
Freshness.
Yeah,
That goes with it.
yeah, like it's brand new. You're doing it for the first
You
time.
do that. Everything about you is fresh, every class you teach, and when you talk about it. But you're always in books too. I always see you
Yeah.
like studying and exploring and
Yeah, it's
poking
exciting.
around. Yeah, it's very cool. How far into asana position should you go, and what is asana? Because many people don't know that.
And asana is the
Asana.
actual yoga position,
Okay.
or also called a pose. And when you're in an asana, you want to go to a level of tension, not tension.
Discomfort?
No, not discomfort. You want to get to a point where you're feeling a really nice, good stretch, but not to the point where you're feeling pain. So this is called your edge. And so you want to push it to a level, but not beyond that level.
And you'll know you're beyond it when you hear something go twang.
Yeah, or when you feel pain. Yeah, and
Okay.
again, it goes with having your attention there. So if your attention's somewhere else, you can hurt yourself without even knowing it, and then you feel it later.
Well, that's interesting because when I do Bikram yoga, I can't say that the teachers are fabulous. It's like pose, hold, pose, hold. It's more rigid.
Right.
But the heat really loosens me up. It really gets me going. And the nice thing is, like, after every position, you lay flat. You have to come down and get your blood, I guess, rebalanced. But a lot of those teachers would be like, no, you're not doing it right. Or they push, and I'm like, I know my body. I know how far to go with this. I know exactly, I've been sitting in the skin for a lot longer than you've been watching it.
Right.
So it's like respecting or giving attention, like you said, to like what feels good for you and pushing it a little bit, but not taking it to that edge
Not
where you're
taking it
snapping
past the edge.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's listening to your system too, and
Right.
people need to do that. It's really important, huh?
Yeah, it is.
So don't hurt yourself.
Right.
Okay, what if someone has an injury?
If somebody has an injury, with going to an edge, it's very tricky because when you're in a position, like you think that you know your body and you have an injury and you think that you can go to the place that you were before you had your injury. And so you try and push yourself and then you end up, possibly re-injuring yourself. And so
Respect it.
it's very, it's very tricky in that area.
And so, what do you tell people to do? Just really
I tell people to back off.
to leave alone.
Yeah.
Not hurt it,
Right.
because there's a reason for that.
Especially in that healing stage, because then you can prolong that healing stage.
Right. Do you think women are pushier about that or guys?
It just depends on the individual.
It does. Okay. And why is body awareness important, in your opinion?
Well, body awareness, again, it helps keep us, centered. It helps keep us focused, keeps us in communication with our body. So
You have to
lots
have
of
that.
different levels.
Well, and breathing is the first step.
Right.
Once you start doing body work and breathing, then you start becoming more aware of everything. I think when you open up your chakras or your energy centers, you have a heightened sense of awareness about many
Exactly.
things in
You
life.
become
so-
more fine-tuned.
Right. Is yoga basics just for beginners?
I don't think so.
Why not?
I love taking yoga basics classes. Anybody can do a yoga basics class, and if you're a more advanced practitioner, you can come to a yoga basics class. You can learn something new, from another teacher, and you really have that time to slow down and to really focus on the breath or on the body. And when you're actually doing the poses a little bit slower and more mindful, it makes it more difficult.
It does, because you're pushing yourself to that edge again,
Right.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah. As opposed to going through a class and like speeding through it and again doing it,
Right.
not mindfully.
Now, you give adjustments in class, right? And
Yeah.
not a lot of teachers do that, though. I think it's great that you do.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I like giving adjustments. I think it's really important. It's just to bring somebody's awareness to, a different area.
Right.
You know.
Because just a millimeter of an inch this way or that way makes all the difference in the way your body responds, and the
Right.
stretch is completely different
Yeah.
by just moving your hip or your shoulder or your, your arm.
Yeah, it can be a slight movement, and then you can be like, "Aha,
Wow.
that's what it's supposed to feel like."
Right, exactly. How many classes per week do you feel a beginner should take?
I feel ideally for a beginner, it would be great to take 2 classes a week, and then supplement that at home. So at home, maybe doing 20 minutes a day, every day, and then taking a group class, about twice a week.
Well, we're going to share that 15 to 20 minutes right here with people, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you going to start people with?
I'm going to start
On the
really
mat.
simple. Again, this is, yoga basics.
Okay.
So we're going to start lying down on the back.
Okay, so why don't you share with us and show us? Let's make sure your cord goes all the way with you. Okay. All right.
Okay, so we're going to start lying down on the back.
I'm going to come down and join you.
Oh, great. And we're going to start by pulling the knees up to the chest, and we're just going to stabilize the sacrum and the low back. So we start here, the knees are directly over the hips, our arms are straight, and then exhale, pulling the belly in and pulling the knees in towards the chest, creating a stretch in through the low back, also tucking the chin and stretching the back of the neck, and then inhale and exhale.
So inhale on the release out.
So as you inhale, the belly expands, pressing the knees away, creating space. And then as you exhale, the abdominals contract,
Right.
pressing the low back into the floor and pulling the knees to the chest.
That's great. So you can hear her breath work. It's constant.
So then from here, we're going to come up onto our knees. So just roll over onto your side and press yourself up. Then coming onto the knees. Knees directly underneath the hips and the feet directly behind the knees. We're going to start with the hands behind the back. Pull the heads of the shoulders back. Tuck the tailbone under. Then inhale, lift the chest, creating a stretch in through the front of the body. And then exhale, contracting the abdominals, pull the belly in, sweeping the hands behind the back. Take the chest to thighs and hips to heels. So again, this warms up the low back and creates movement in the shoulder joints.
That looks great. It just opens everything up.
And from here, we're going to lie down onto our stomachs. Take the hands behind the back, looking to the right side. Bring the legs and feet together. Press the tops of the feet into the floor. Tuck the tailbone under and pull the shoulders back and down. Then inhale, lift the chest. Sweep the right arm around. And then exhale, lower down, looking to the opposite side. And then we'll alternate right arm, left leg.